What's up, motherfucker?
Hold on, I hope y'all watching this shit.
First round, real quick.
People that are in those training rooms with him know how good he is.
Because he just knocks dudes out real quick in the first round.
Yeah, but now we're gonna get a good. I might fuck with this guy. He just, to me, I thought he was a con artist, just based off his look.
They're edge.
Holy shit! What the hell just happened?
What's up, motherfuckers? Welcome to G.S.R. Gonzo'S Sports Room, Friday, March 4th, 2022. Got a pretty big show planned tonight. Talk about KD making his return. We'll talk some about UFC 272 tomorrow night, Covington versus Masvidal. Got a little bit of NFL news as well. Talk a little more, maybe a little more about the baseball strike as well. Don't forget, we're live Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern with Easy Money, a sports betting show. You can find that show live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We're also live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern with G.S.R. Gonzo'S Sports Room. You can find both those shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can also find both those shows in podcast form on Apple Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Most places you listen to podcasts, you can find us. We also have a new pro wrestling podcast out, GWR Gonzo's Wrestling Room. New episodes drop every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. We dropped the 6th episode of it last Sunday. You can find it on Apple Podcast, Anchor Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Most places you listen to podcasts, you can find us. And you can also find the video version of it on YouTube at Gonzo's Sports Room. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Gonzo's Sports Room. That's where we post any announcements about the show gets posted to our social media. Check out our YouTube page at Gonzo's Sports Room. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell so you get notifications of when we are live. We'd greatly appreciate that. If you're watching on Facebook and Twitch, please hit the follow and like buttons as well. Share it to your friends. We'd appreciate that as well. Don't forget, check out our merch store, streamlabs.com/Gonzo'S Sports/merch. We got t-shirts, hats, hoodies, a lot of different things available there. So go over and get you some GSR, GWR, or Easy Money gear today. But all right, let's go ahead and get ready to jump right into it here. Indiana Pacers are losing to the Detroit Pistons, 80-79, with about 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Kevin Durant, speaking of NBA, Kevin Durant made his return last night. Hadn't played for about 2.5 months or something like that. Hasn't played for a while. He came out last night and looked like he hadn't missed no time at all. Had 29 points. Still wasn't enough for the Nets to get a win. Of course, Kyrie couldn't play because they were at home last night, which makes absolutely no sense. The rules on that are so hypocritical and make no sense at all. Kyrie Irving, and I'm not a Nets fan. I'm an Indiana Pacer fan, but it just don't make no sense. Kyrie Irving can't play at home because of New York's vaccine mandate, and he's unvaccinated. But and say that the Indiana Pacers go to play the Knicks. Any unvaccinated player on Indiana's team, they're still allowed to play in New York. So it makes no sense at all. Kyrie, who lives there, can't play because of the mandate, but visiting players can play. It makes no sense at all. If New York drops the mask mandate, I think that's really going to help the Nets, because then you get Kyrie all the time. And not that I'm a big Kyrie fan, but I mean, you add him with KD and Ben Simmons comes back and is playing anything like Ben Simmons is capable of playing. The Nets are going to be a tough out. One thing that does hurt the Nets is they lost Joe Harris to a season-ending injury last night. And that's big, because that's one of them shooters that they need. Because with KD and them guys on the floor, you spread the floor and you can get guys open shots. You need them knockdown shooters like Harris. So that's a big loss to me for the Nets. But KD came back out. I mean, he came out last night, looked like he hadn't missed a beat at all. I can't remember if they played tonight or not. Oh, no, Nets don't play tonight. Do have some pretty good games going on. You have Pacers at the Pistons, Hawks at the Wizards, Cavs at the 76ers, Bucks and Bulls, Magic and Raptors, and the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Jazz and the Pelicans, Rockets and Nuggets, and the Knicks and Suns. So there's a pretty good slate of NBA games tonight. But the Nets do not play tonight. Like I said, I think this will lead right into one of our other topics of the night. But KD, when he is healthy, is pretty much unstoppable. He can get to his spots on the court, and at being 7 foot tall, he can shoot over anybody. He can handle the ball like almost like a point guard. So I mean, you can play him about any position. He's just a whole different animal than what the league has really seen. If he would have been healthy the last 2 years, I don't think it's even close to when people start. If KD would have been healthy the last 2 years, yeah. If he'd have been healthy, I don't think there would even be a conversation about who the best in the world is. It would just be known that Kevin Durant. It'd be known universally that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. I think going into that topic, because that was one of the topics we were going to talk about today, is who's the best player in the NBA. So we'll kind of go into that topic from this. But I think Kevin Durant when healthy, is the best player in the NBA right now. Just because, like I said, he can get to any spot he wants to on the court, and he can basically shoot over anybody. He can take it to the basket. He can handle the ball. He's a complete package. I think he's the best player in the league right now. I mean, Giannis, you got to put Giannis up there. I'd say you can make an argument for Curry. I think you can make an argument for Embiid, Jokic, all them guys, Doncic. You can make an argument for all them guys, but I think Durant is the most complete player right now in the NBA. A couple of years ago, I thought he was the best player then. A lot of people would say it was still LeBron, but I mean, I thought a couple of years ago, especially after in them back-to-back finals in game threes, that Durant hit those big heartbreaking shots that he hit right over LeBron in them two game threes of those series back-to-back. To me, that was when Durant showed that he was the best player in the world right now. And the only reason he hasn't been the best player since then till now is because of injuries. I mean, if he hadn't been hurt, who was going to be better than him? I don't think there's anybody out there right now that is. Before we move on, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers up 87-82 on the Philadelphia 76ers with about 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Pacers are up 86-84 with 45 seconds left in the third quarter. The Atlanta Hawks are up 88-81 over the Washington Wizards with about a minute and just under 2 minutes left in the third quarter of that game. The Magic are up 48-39 over the Toronto Raptors at halftime. Milwaukee is up 55-53 over the Chicago Bulls with three seconds left in the second quarter. The Timberwolves are up 37-34 over the OKC Thunder with 10 minutes left in the second quarter in that game. The Pelicans are up 48-22 on the Utah Jazz with 8.5 minutes left in the second quarter. And that's all the games that are in play right now. And then starting at 9 o'clock, we have the Rockets at the Nuggets, and at 10 o'clock, the Knicks at the Suns. So that's all the NBA games that are in action right now. But yeah, in the NBA, I think the best player right now is Kevin Durant. And then that moves on to another topic. I was on a show this morning, and we talked about this, and I thought it was interesting. The guy asked, who is the most important player on the Warriors team? Well, the most important player on the Warriors team is Steph Curry. He was making an argument that the most important player on their team was Draymond Green. Now, don't get me wrong. Draymond Green is a real important piece to the Warriors with everything that he does. and and especially his defensive ability that he brings. But he's not more important than Steph Curry. That train goes nowhere without Steph Curry. If Draymond was trying to run that play on that team by himself, he's not going to have near as much. He's not going to have the success that he's had with having Clay and Steph out there with them. They all three complement each other great. But the most important player on that Warriors team is Steph Curry. I mean, because Steph Curry creates openings for them other guys as well because because of how great he's the best shooter ever play the game. So you have to be able to put extra guys on him. So he's going to get guys open looks. And when you have a guy like Klay Thompson, who could be a number one / close to probably a number one on about 90% of the teams, you have him and Curry. They help each other out so much because they can space the floor, which that helps Draymond Green out being able to facilitate the ball and stuff like that. He's a true. I mean, hey, he don't do a lot scoring wise, but what he brings defensively, rebounding, and assist wise, you can't replace. That's what the Warriors' problem has been the last week and a half or so is, and they're on this losing streak is because Draymond hasn't been playing and their defense has been flat terrible. They've been missing Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala, and without them two players, their defense has been terrible. Now you insert Draymond Green back in there, their defense is going to start playing better, and they're going to start winning games again. And then Wiseman gets back. Excuse me. This Warriors team, I think, is going to be right there in the playoffs this year. I think they can make a deep run, and if Steph and Clay get hot, they could win the whole damn thing. I'm not saying that they're their favorite. I think them and the Suns are right there as the favorites out of the West. And then you in the East, like I said, you got the Bucks, the Sixers. I mean, you have some, and what are the Nets going to be? So the NBA playoffs are going to be interesting. Going to be real interesting this week in the NBA playoffs when we get to that point and see who always makes it. I mean, hell, LeBron might not even be in the playoffs again this year. I mean, right now I think they'd be in the play-in, but how long? I mean, what's going to happen the rest of the season? KD's out. It seems like that Lakers team is ready to turn on each other. You don't have the same chemistry when you're winning and making it to the finals and stuff as you do when you're struggling. And they're all, to me, are all pointing fingers. They're all blaming it on Westbrook, or they're blaming it on this, or they're blaming it on. They got to play as a team, and just the construction of that team is just terrible. The team that Rob Pelinka put together is just not a very good basketball team. And then you traded away some guys to bring in and brought in Westbrook, and you didn't improve. You got worse. And I thought that from when the trade first happened. I'm not just saying that now because we're seeing the results. I was saying that before they ever made the trade that it wasn't going to work. Pacers and Pistons tied 92-92 with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But in some other news, let's move on, talk about a couple other things. Brian Griese to leave the Monday Night Football booth to go be the quarterback's coach for the San Francisco 49ers. This kind of came out of nowhere. Griese had been doing the Monday Night Football for ESPN for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I hadn't even really heard his name out there as to get hired as any kind of a coach or anything. I know he does have a good relationship with Kyle Shanahan. So that's probably one of the reasons that San Francisco was able to bring him in. And I mean, I think Griese will be a good guy for Trey Lance to learn under. My question now, you're changing quarterback coaches. Is that going to set Trey Lance progression back? Because now you're getting a new coach. Is that going to change any of try to change his mechanics and stuff? Is that going to bring the progression that he made this year? Is that going to pull him back any? Having to learn, get used to a new coach, and I think the coordinator's the same. So the offense coordinator's the same. Shanahan calls the offense. So all that stuff will be the same, but you're still dealing with a new coach And I mean, two different coaches could sit here and watch me throw a football, and both of them could have different advice. So is this new coach going to think a lot different than the quarterback coach they had before? And is he going to try to change different things on Lance? And is that going to set Lance's progress back a little bit? In the long run, it might be better for Trey Lance, but in the short term, it could set him back a little bit. And if they do trade Garoppolo, are they going to trade Garoppolo and they're planning on starting Lance this season? Or are they planning on maybe trying to keep Garoppolo another year, or they're going to bring in a bridge guy and they think that Lance needs at least another year to sit and learn. And then now that you add this quarterback coach in there, that could set him back a little bit, just because, like I said, all coaches are different. I know Shanahan's going to have the final say so, but when you have a coach that works with you directly every day, and I mean, they can try to help you on mechanics and different things, and you start tweaking with stuff. Yeah, in the long run, you'll probably make progress and it'll probably get better. But in the short term, a lot of times you might regress just a little bit until you start getting more comfortable with the new mechanics or whatever you're trying to change, your footwork or just anything like that. It takes you a little bit to get back in that rhythm and for you to get used to it, where it's in your muscle memory and you're doing the same thing over and over like you were before you tried to change it. It takes a lot of work to change a lot of that stuff because your body gets used to doing it a certain way. So when you change coaches like that, I think it could be a bigger deal than what a lot of people think. I think Greasy's a good guy to choose as a quarterback coach to work with a young quarterback. So I mean, I think they made a good. I'm not saying that I disagree with them hiring Greasy. It's just you don't want to keep changing coaches on a young quarterback. So hopefully you bring in Greasy, and that's going to be the guy for a while. If you're planning on Lance being your long-term guy, you want that relationship, because that's the coach, one of the coaches he has interaction with every single day. So you want to make sure that relationship is good. So you want to have some consistency at that position. We only had one quarterback coach last year. Now we're starting another one. They need to get some consistency. But I think Greasy is a good hire as a quarterback coach to help a young quarterback. Who's under the most pressure this year to win in the NFL? I think it's Baker Mayfield. I think he is one of the players with the most pressure on him this year, because this could be his last chance as a starter in Cleveland. If he don't play better, I mean, they've put some weapons around him. They need to improve that offensive line some still, and they got to improve their defense as well. They have a good running back, have a good running game. They have some good weapons on the outside. This Baker has to show progress this year, or he might not have a starting job in the NFL anymore, because if Cleveland decides to move on from Baker Mayfield, is there going to be a big market out there for him? I mean, how many teams are going to bring him in and take a chance that he's going to play better there than what he did in Cleveland? I mean, he showed some flashes, but I mean, what team needs a quarterback that you can say Baker Mayfield's an upgrade from what they have? Maybe the Houston Texans. I think they want to see what they have in Davis Mills, and they're still hoping they get Deshaun Watson back. Maybe the Broncos take a flyer on them, but I mean, to me, that's just a lateral move. That's not making your team better. And if you're making a lateral move, it's not worth making, because you're not making no progress. But yeah, Baker has to perform this year and win more games in Cleveland. I think it's kind of skewed too on him, as everybody talks about. Yeah, he's only won this number of games. But you got to remember what Cleveland was before he got there. They were going 0-16, 1-15, 0. I mean, they weren't winning no games at all. He comes in the first year, they win 4 or 5. Next year, he gets them to the playoffs. Next year, they went like 11-6. So they've made progress. Now everybody's just wanting to see him get over the hump. And if he wouldn't have been the number one pick in that draft that year, there probably wouldn't be as much pressure on him by the media, and probably even internally around the Browns organization, there wouldn't be as much pressure if he wouldn't have been the number one draft pick. But since he was the number one draft pick, number one pick of that year, everybody's expecting, okay, here in a few years, you're going to have that team competing for a Super Bowl. They've made progress. First couple of years, he had different coach changes, which, like I said, I think that makes a regression a little bit. And then you got to go forward. It's going to be the same coach now for a couple of years. I think Stefanski is a good coach. I think that relationship, as it gets better and they build a better chemistry together, that they could just get better. I think Baker could have a lot better season this year. I think OBJ being gone helps Baker Mayfield as well. I think there was times out there, and I'm not saying it was OBJ's fault, but I think there was times in games that you could see that Baker was forcing the ball to OBJ. I don't know if it was just thinking, oh, I got OBJ on my team, I got to get him the ball. But there was times that he would force him the ball on plays that OBJ wasn't even expecting the ball. OBJ had already gave up on the route because he's seeing the coverage and go, okay, the ball's going, you're going to Landry with that, or you're going to tight end with it. Baker tries to force a throw, and Odell's not still running the route. They're all not on the same page. So that was to me, Baker looked more comfortable when OBJ wasn't on the team before they brought OBJ in. They got some good weapons with Landry. They got a couple good tight ends. And they also have another wide receiver. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head now. So they have some good weapons. If the Browns can improve that offensive line, where Baker Mayfield has a little more time back there, I think Baker will be fine. But if he struggles this year, I think I don't know if there'll be a spot for him in the NFL anymore, because I don't know if any other team is going to take him on as a starter. And do you want a high profile guy like Baker Mayfield that as your backup, where they're always going to be talking about your backup quarterback? And organizations and coaches don't like backup quarterbacks that are getting talked about all the time, because it can become more of a distraction. Because I mean, if you bring Baker in as a backup, and say you're the Broncos and you have, and your Locke is struggling, and you're going to start getting you're going to start getting the media and the fans and everybody yelling to try Baker. I mean, just different situations like that. And with Baker's, the way he's built, I don't know if he could be a backup, because he's always been that underdog guy. It's always worked up to the top. And so I don't know how he would work as being a backup. But he has to have a good year this year, or he could be in trouble, because I don't know if the Browns decide to move on from him. I don't know if there's going to be a big market of teams that's really going to. I mean, if somebody does take a chance with Baker, they're not. It's going to be like on a prove it deal. He's not going to get a big deal unless he gets an extension with the Browns. He's not getting big money from anywhere else. It's going to be more of a prove it deal, and then have a chance to make more money after that. Because I don't see none of these teams, if the Browns was to move on from Baker Mayfield, are going to give up a whole lot in a trade, or going to pay him a lot of money in free agency. He just hasn't proved that he's that guy where he's worth paying that kind of money for. He has not proved that yet at all. So I think he's one of the guys that has the most pressure on him in the NFL. The Cowboys to release Amari Cooper. I kind of found this interesting, because when they got Amari Cooper, they gave up like 3 first-round picks for him. Everybody was talking about how good Amari Cooper was, how he was one of the best receivers in the league. And if you look how many times Amari Cooper folded when it got tough, he was getting shut down one game, so he just pulled himself basically out of the game for the last couple of drives of the game. There've been a lot of big spots that he's not showed up in. He's not a number one. He's a solid number 2, but he's not a number 1 receiver. If he's your number 1 receiver on your team, you're going to be in some trouble. He's a good route runner, but he's not. He's shown that he's not very mentally tough. Defenses can get under his skin, and like I said, he'll pull himself out of a game. You see sometimes where he's just disinterested. I think Amari Cooper's a solid number 2. I don't think there's going to be I mean, if they release him, I'm sure he'll get picked up somewhere because, like I said, he's a solid number 2. And if you have a number 1, Amari Cooper would be a great guy to have on the other side because he can be effective, especially when he's happy and engaged. I just think it's kind of funny how all these Cowboy fans now are saying, "Oh yeah, Cooper ain't very good. They should get rid of him." Where a couple years ago, all you heard was how great of a move it was, and how much better Dak Prescott got once Amari Cooper got there, and how Dak and Amari were going to lead the Cowboys to Super Bowls, and they barely made the playoffs. And when they have made the playoffs, they get put out quick. And Amari Cooper does not show up in big games. And a lot of times, Dak Prescott's putting up numbers in garbage time. The Cowboys have some things they need to fix. If they move, what's this offense going to look like next year? Everybody talking about Dak's weapons. Well, you paid Dak that money, okay. You're talking about releasing Amari Cooper. You're probably going to lose Gallup as well. So you're going to have CD Lamb and who else you have at receiver? I mean, don't get me wrong. They'll probably try to. I mean, they'll draft somebody or bring in some people from free agency. But if you just have CD Lamb and you don't have a solid number 2, CD Lamb's numbers are going to look a lot different. It wasn't like he was great, real great this year. He had his moments, but then he had moments where a lot of people was mad and saying that he shouldn't wear 88 because it was disrespectful to Irvin if he was going to play that way. So I mean, hey, them Cowboys fans will turn on you real quick. But so I don't know how big of I mean, there'll be a market out there for Amari. I think he's a great number 2 option. I just don't think he's a number 1. And the Cowboys definitely didn't get out of him what they thought they was going to get out of him when they gave up 3 first-round picks. Tomorrow night, we have a big UFC pay-per-view, UFC 272. You have Covington against Masvidal as the main event. Dos Anjos against Marciano is the co-main event now after Fizev had to be pulled from the fight because he tested positive for COVID. This is a good UFC card. You got a few good fights on the prelims, but then the main card's a pretty good card. Also on the main card, you have Sergey Spivak against Greg Hardy. You have Edson Barboza against Bryce Mitchell. That should be interesting. Co-main event, Dos Anjos versus Marciano should be an interesting fight. And how good a shape is Marciano going to be in taking this fight on such short notice? Then you got Covington and Masvidal in the main event. I think I'll go ahead and I'll give you guys out the picks I gave out today on Easy Money, a sports betting show. I gave out my official picks for the UFC. I'm taking the prelims. I'm taking Nicole Namagarano money line. Also have Tim Elliott over Ulanbekov. I have Elliott money line in that fight. I have Michael Olesnik money line against Dustin Jacoby. That are the ones I have in the prelims. On the main card, I have Dos Anjos over Marciano, Jamie Malarkey over Jalen Turner, Sergey Spivak over Greg Hardy, Bryce Mitchell over Edson Barboza. In the main event, I didn't give this out as a pick because there's not a whole lot of value there. I like Colby Covington, but he's like a -3 something favorite. I might put a little bit of money on Covington by decision, but I think Covington wins this fight. I think Covington's wrestling is going to be the difference in this fight. Masvidal is a good boxer, but he's not great on the ground. I think Covington's a decent striker. He's not an elite striker, but I think his pressure that he puts on his feet, I think he's going to be able to get the takedown, and I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. So I like Covington over Masvidal. I like Kevin Holland over. I think Kevin Holland's going to be Oliveira. But the picks I gave out on my official picks, the fights I like the most, great. I like Spivak over Hardy, Malarkey over Turner, Dos Anjos over Marciano, Nemagranu money line, Tim Elliott money line, and Michael Olesnechik money line. I took some underdogs in there. Like I said, should be a great card. Like I said, in the main event, I think Covington's wrestling will be the big difference. Bryce Mitchell and Edson Barbosa. I think this is going to be interesting. Bryce Mitchell's a great grappler. He's a decent striker. He's not an elite striker. Edson Barbosa is a good striker, but Edson Barbosa isn't great on the mat. So this should be an interesting fight. I like Bryce Mitchell to pick up the win here against Edson Barbosa. Kevin Holland and Oliveira. Alex Oliveira's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's 2-6 in his last 8 fights. So this is a big fight for him. I mean, this might be his last chance he gets in the UFC if he loses this fight. Holland has great striking, but he's poor takedown defense. He's poor grappling. But I like Holland here. I just don't see Oliveira trying a whole lot of takedown attempts. And I think Holland with his volume is going to be able to outstrike Oliveira. Spivak against Hardy. Greg Hardy his striking is improved, but he still has cardio issues. The longer this fight goes, to me, it favors Spivak more. Spivak has good wrestling. I think that's going to be the difference here. I think he's going to be able to get some takedowns on Hardy. And I like Sergey Spivak here at the money line. But should be a great night of fights. We will be, I'll put out a post tomorrow, but I'm about 95% sure we're going to go to live tomorrow night with the live watch along and reaction to UFC 272. If we do, we'll be live at 10 o'clock for the main card. So make sure you be on the lookout for that. We'll be live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch at 10 o'clock tomorrow night for the main card of UFC 272. We'll be doing a live watch along and reaction to that. So make sure you join us for that tomorrow night. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this Friday night. Hope everybody's having a good Friday night. I hope you had a good week. Getting ready to enjoy the weekend. Don't forget this Sunday, big professional wrestling show here in Greenfield, Indiana. Summit Pro Wrestling presents Danger Zone. It's going to be it should be a great show. We were at their last show and it was a great card. Doors open at 2 or 3. Wrestling starts at 4 p.m. Greenfield, Indiana. I believe tickets are only $10. You can find more information on it at Summit Pro on Facebook, or you can also look on the Gonzo'S Sports Room social media pages. We have some stuff on there about it as well. If you can't make it to Greenfield, Indiana, we will GWR. We will be there live streaming this event on YouTube and Twitch at Gonzo'S Sports Room. So if you want to watch, if you're a pro wrestling fan, you want to watch a good wrestling show, Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern. Tune into our YouTube and Twitch channels at Gonzo'S Sports Room for Summit Pro Danger Zone. You'll see some of the best, the top talent Indiana has to offer in independent wrestling. They put on a good show. They put on a great show last time I was there. Expecting a good show this Sunday. Doors open at 3. Bell time's at 4 o'clock. Also, then Sunday night you have AEW Revolution. You have UFC on Saturday night. So pretty big weekend in sports. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Stay safe. We will see you guys tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern for the UFC watch along and live reaction. Then we will see you guys Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern for wrestling. If not, see you Monday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern for Easy Money, a sports betting show. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Peace.